Good evening. Welcome to GreenWatch, your public access TV show about social justice and environmental affairs. I'm your host, Brian Harrison. Tonight we're going to be talking about the American Legislative Exchange Council, otherwise known as ALEC. With us to talk about ALEC tonight is David Weinberg. He is the Executive Director of the Texas League of Conservation Voters. Also with us tonight in the studio is Adrian Shelley. He is the Executive Director of Air Alliance Houston. And joining us via Skype from Washington, D.C. is Brendan Fisher. He is General Counsel for the Center for Media and Democracy. Thank you, all three of you, for being on the program with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, the American Legislative Exchange Council is a very kind of verbose name for this entity that a lot of people probably haven't heard of. What does ALEC do? Brendan, what does ALEC do?
Sure. So ALEC is what we would describe as a corporate bill mill. What they do is bring together state legislators with special interests and corporations like Koch Industries and BP and ExxonMobil, as well as the tobacco industry and the pharmaceutical industry, and special interest groups like groups pushing school choice or education privatization. And these corporate and special interests hand state legislators changes to our laws that tend to benefit the corporate bottom line or advance some sort of ideological agenda. And the state legislators then bring these bills back to their state, introduce the bills in their own name without giving any indication that the bills were written by special interests or written by corporations, that the legislators may have gotten thousands of dollars of gifts from the same corporations that benefit from the introduction of this model legislation. And then all of a sudden, these bills are passing in multiple states, almost word for word, carbon copies of the same legislation. And it's not until we see a tragedy like the murder of Trayvon Martin in Florida, or the disenfranchisement of millions of Americans, that we realize that something is amiss. So that, I guess, that in a nutshell is what ALEC is. I can definitely talk more about how they operate, how they're 98% funded by corporate interests and from sources other than legislative dues, and how on top of all of that they're a charity, which means that when corporations are paying thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to join ALEC and access legislators, they're actually getting a charitable tax write-off for it. They're getting a charitable tax write-off for what's essentially lobbying.
Well, we will certainly get into all of that here in the next hour. But David, is this something that's going on here in Texas? We've got people from across the country telling us what bills to put in our own state legislature?
Brian, it certainly is. And I think we're seeing a little bit of a crescendo at the Texas legislature. And just by way of some quick background, my organization, Texas League of Conservation Voters, during legislative sessions at the Capitol, we convene and organize a kind of coalition of environmental and other groups from across the state to work together during sessions, sort of tracking legislation and prioritizing what our sort of top issues are going to be and sort of the bad bills that are out there. And we have certainly seen ALEC's fingerprints at the Capitol. It's interesting because sometimes you get bills that come up and it's not, no one seems to know why we have it, but for people who've been studying this issue, it's pretty clear that ALEC is the source. Let me give you one good example. We've been dealing with legislation at the Texas Capitol, a bill that we call the paralysis by analysis bill, which essentially throws up obstacles and sort of roadblocks to state environmental agencies who are trying to do their job of protecting the environment and public health, particularly hamstringing the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. The Texas legislature only meets, once every 2 years. In 2011, we saw one version of this bill come up in the state Senate. This past session in 2013, we saw one bill come up in the state Senate, and then 3 different bills, all paralysis by analysis bills, sort of pop up in the House. So we had 1 in 2011 and 4 in 13 to deal with. So it's certainly an issue. And then, for some of the higher profile, higher scale kind of environmental issues in terms of where you're seeing this all across the country. We did have an ALEC-style bill introduced in the last legislative session that would have, it was supposed to repeal our state renewable portfolio standard. It was a bit of a silly bill because in Texas, one of our great victories on the environment is we've actually already met and surpassed our state RPS. So it was kind of more of a ceremonial sort of showy bill, but it's definitely something we're dealing with in the state legislature.